Okay, now that you've used Google Form inside of Google Classroom and you've assigned a Google quiz or a Google Form to your students, you're probably ready to access all of those results. So I'm going to use my Google Classroom to click into a Google Form assignment that I sent to my students so that I can show you how to access and filter the responses for Google Forms and how you can see the grade results for a Google quiz. So the sample I have, or I will pull up for you, is called What Would You Do Voting Survey. So I did create this assignment with an answer key and point values so that I could tell my students how many points each response was worth, but I did not assign specific answers since they're short answer responses, not multiple choice questions. So I'm going to view the assignment so I can show you how to access the results. And then I will show you the results and what it looks like when you're able to see the grades or when you're asked to input your own grades. So what would you do voting survey? Notice I have 11 students who turned it in and 19 students who are still waiting to complete it. So the Google form is called Cast Your Vote for Our Next President. Who should lead America after the Great Depression? And the students who completed, it looks blank. So it looks like these students have done their work, but it does not look like they've done anything here. That's because their answers are not going to be held inside of Classroom, they're going to be held inside of the Google form. So if I click on the Google form that was attached to my responses or attached to my assignment, you'll see that the students were asked to read a little excerpt from a candidate and respond to a 2-point question identifying the main things that candidate number 1 is promising to the country. They'll type in their answer and, select their answers here, submit. That's the version that students need to see. And when you as the teacher click on your Google form in your assignment, it's going to bring you up here. However, at the bottom right, you're going to see a little icon that pops up. It's a little pen or pencil, and that's your edit this form option. So this is the way that you would go back into the editing function. Yes, I want to leave this site because I'm not saving those sample answers I typed in. I really am interested in accessing the responses. So once I click that little pencil button at the bottom right of the screen, sometimes it shows up at the top right, but Google updates lately have been bringing that little icon to the bottom. Once you click there, you're back into the editing function. So you'll see that this document or this form does have questions that have an answer associated with them. So if I click into this question, what are the main things candidate 2 is promising to the country, I can click on answer key. I did not add specific answers here because I'm going to manually be grading the student answers that they wrote in, but I did want them to know that it was going to be worth 2 points. So I indicated that this would be worth 2 points and said done. Google Forms is not going to grade that for me because I haven't identified an answer. However, I'm still telling it that this will be worth 2 points, so my students are aware that that question is not a one-word answer. They'll need to do a little bit more to get the 2 points that is for the value. So at the top, there's a few ways now to get to results. You see responses. You want to click on responses, and that is going to bring you into the back end of the Google form, or in this case, a Google quiz. So you have a couple of options of how you want to see the results in this screen. Responses gives you the summary option, the question option, or the individual option. So you can see a summary of responses. And if I'll scroll down for a second, the class question, you can see the breakdown of students who completed the survey from the different classes. My 804 group is here. 10 of them have submitted it. And 11 showed up on my screen because Shanae and I have spoken outside of the Google form. So that's always an option. Open that up to your students. If they're having trouble, let them communicate with you and troubleshoot with them to type in their answers and try to figure out the best way to make it possible for all of your students to complete their work. Right? So you have this kind of summary option, which might be nice to see that, 35 students or 58.3% voted for candidate 1, but that's not going to tell me individually which students submitted which answers. So the summary is an option for you. Question by question, you can see the answers that are there or available. Individual student responses will let you see each student's answers one by one, which might be a nice way to do that. But if you have 60 answers, and me being the teacher of only 804, I'm really only interested in finding my student answers. So the best way that I think you should access your Google Form results is by using this button at the top right. It says View Responses in Sheets, and this will open up a response spreadsheet. And this is your mass responses. These are all of the students who have completed your response, who have done the work and submitted it to you on their end. So even though it looks blank in Google Classroom, there are actually many students who turned in their work, and this is how we can access it on Google Classroom or through Google Forms. So we have 61 responses so far. Me as the teacher, I would want to see a couple of things. So one thing I would want to do is I would want to click at the top of the class column, and this little arrow is going to let me sort. If I sort the sheet, it is now going to sort all my 801 students together, and Mr. Weaver will be able to look at those responses. I'm most interested in 804, so I can jump down and I can see where 804 students are. And I can use this to go in and read their results, read their answers, and give them scores for each of their questions or each of their responses. If you notice, this Google form has a column for score, because remember, I told Google Forms that I wanted to identify a point value, so Google Forms recognizes that this form is worth 10 points. However, all of the scores are 0 right now because the students that completed have not completed responses with a form that has answers identified. So again, I did not specifically identify the correct answer because these are writing response questions, and I prefer to go over those answers manually and grade them myself. If you gave multiple choice questions and you identified the correct answers, this score column would generate a score based on the correct answers that the students submitted. So your score column for me says 0 because there is no response that has actual correct answers, which is often true in social studies. However, for you, if you have correct answers, the score column will generate and calculate the student response based on the answers that they submitted to your Google Form survey. Alternatively, you could go into your Drive, your regular Google Drive account, and search for World War II President Vote, which is the name of my Google form, and you'll have options to pull up the quiz or the responses. Just a heads up, if you have not already clicked View Responses in Sheets, the first time you click that option, you will get a pop-up that asks you if you would like to create a new spreadsheet. You do want to create a new spreadsheet so that you'll have a space to access all of the Google Form results in one space. This is the easiest way for you to see the mass responses if you don't want to see an individual student. If you'd like to go back into an individual student response, your best option would be to go to individual student and click through to find their name. Their answers will then pop up and you can review each one individually. These options for Google Classroom connecting with Google Form really let you send out one document to all of your students that they can access, complete, and once you see their results, you'll have everything organized for you. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions or further research or further ideas of study about Google Form, let me know and we'll be able to connect via comments, feedback, a one-on-one session, or I can make a new video and share it with the staff. I hope this PD was helpful for your Google Classroom endeavors. Bye, everyone.